Okay, what about now? Still clear? Okay, so again, let's go ahead and start. Good evening to the all great researcher in Platinum Research Club and outside setting, our guest. This is Imtinan Bukhari, senior medical student from King bin Abdul Aziz University in Southern Jeddah, and one of the research leaders in the club, and Emergency Medicine Touristic Group and the International Student Association of Emergency Medicine. Today we are kicking off our very first course in our research community with something foundational, vital, and honestly a little bit medical research ethics, or as I like to call it, healing with integrity. Look, a fancy title, right? So, but let me start with a question. I want you to imagine this with me. You are a researcher with a breakthrough drug that could save thousands, but it doesn't have been tested on humans yet. A patient is dying in front of you and asking you to try it. What do you do? Push the science forward or protect them from the unknown? Let me know in the comments if yes or no. I think we are still having some problem in the voice. Let me check again. Okay, what about now? Can you hear me? So let me just give you a sentence so just to make sure that it's working still. Healing with integrity, medical research ethics. Sounds good? Okay. So my questions was, I wanted you to imagine with me that you are a researcher with a breakthrough drug that could save thousands, but it has not been tested on humans. A patient is dying in front of you and asking you to try it. What do you do? Push the science forward or protect them from the unknown? I wanted to know your answers, if yes or no. You can just answer in the chat or feel free to open the mic. Okay, again, some of you did not hear me. Okay, I wanted you to imagine that you are a researcher with a breakthrough drug that could save thousands, but it has not been tested on humans still. And a patient is dying in front of you and asking you to try it on, even though it has not been tested or launched in the market. So what do? You're gonna push the science forward to test the drug on that patient or protect them from the unknown. So Sulafa, she said she's gonna try it. A lot of you gonna said that she's gonna try it. Okay, Yumna. So some of you said no, and some of you said yes. So these are not just hypothetical questions. These are real ethical crossroads that face everyday medical research. Today, we are diving into the world where science meets morality, where a great idea is not enough. It just has to be ethical, responsible, and most importantly, human. So get ready to explore the darkest stories, the life-saving discoveries, and the rules that keep it all from going off the rails. So, here's what you will work away with today. You will understand what medical research ethics is and why it matters. You will explore its historical roots, especially the painful ones. You will learn the core principle of ethical research. You will identify common challenges we face today. And finally, we will understand how oversight bodies like the RBs work to keep the research ethical and accountable. Let's set the scene. Medical research is defined as a research that contributes to and supports the body of knowledge in medicine. It includes a variety of activities, from basic laboratory investigations to clinical trials and epidemiological studies, all aimed at understanding disease causes, developing new therapies, and improving the health outcomes. So, what do you think we do research? What's the importance of research in our community or even like worldwide? Why we do it? So, again, my question is what is the importance of research and why we do it? Okay, to find better ways of helping people, that's right. To gain more information, we can gain through research more information about the disease itself, about medication, new investigation. Yes, Dana, to be updated and understand new things. That's perfect. I think you're already a researcher, so me giving this lecture is very easy for you. Okay, so why we do pursue research? First, understanding disease mechanisms. Research helps us uncover the root causes of the disease at cellular, genetic, and molecular level. This fundamental knowledge allows scientists to map out how diseases start, progress, and affect different systems in the body. For example, understanding how insulin works in the body was the key for developing effective treatments for diabetes. Second, developing and evaluating treatments. Medical research is essential for creating new drugs, surgical procedures, and therapies. It does not stop at creation. Evaluation through clinical trials determine their safety, effectiveness, and long-term impact. Every medication in your pharmacy shelf exists because of rigorous research and testing. Third, improving diagnostic tools. Accurate diagnosis is the foundation of effective treatment. Research helps us develop and refine diagnostic tools like imaging technologies, MRI, CT, chest X-ray, biomarkers, and genetic tests that allow earlier and more precise identification of the disease. Early diagnosis often means better outcomes, as we know. Moreover, enhancing preventive measures. Prevention is always better than the cure itself. Research informs public health initiatives, vaccine development, and screening programs. For example, studying the transmission of infectious disease like COVID-19, the epidemic, helped create policies to control its rate and vaccine to prevent it. Lastly, advancing medical education and practice. The knowledge gained from the research is translated into medical guidelines, textbooks, and training that we are as a student, we learn them. It keeps from the practice of medicine current and evidence-based. Without ongoing research, medicine would stagnate, relying on outdated methods. But there is a line. Just because we can explore something does not always mean we should. And that's where ethics steps in. So let me break it down for you. The term ethics comes from the Greek word ethos, which means custom or character. I hope I did pronounce that right. Sorry for all the Greek people. Medical research ethics is a set of moral standards that guide healthcare professionals in conducting research involving human participants. It emphasizes the protection of human participant dignity, rights, welfare, ensuring that the studies are conducted responsibly and ethically. So research ethics basically is a safeguard, a compass, especially when a powerful initiative exists to cut the corners for the sake of discovery, fame, or funding. Let me give you a scenario. You offered, let's say, 10,000 real to join a clinical trial. Tempting, right? I mean, who does not need money? You ask, what are the risks? And the reply, oh, don't worry about that part. Would you still say yes? Would you still join the research just for the money without knowing any risk? Okay, someone said no. I think most of you will say no. Would you give up your body for the unknown thing? Okay, of course not. Well, because without ethics, you are not a volunteer. You are a test subject, a name on a clipboard, a number in a file. That's why medical research exists, so to protect the human dignity. Every participant in a research study is a person first. They are not data points or test subjects. They are human beings. Ethics ensure we treat them with respect, empathy, and care they deserve. We must never treat individuals as a means to an end, even in the name of science. Imagine if you were settling, if you were, it was your parent, would you want them to treat it with compassion and dignity? So, second, ensure the informed consent. Informed consent is not just about signing a form, it's about honest, clear, and complete communication. Participants must fully understand what they are agreeing to, the risk, the benefits, and the rights, including the right to leave the study at any time. Without full transparency, consent is not truly informed, and it is misleading. So, no surprises, no hidden agenda, only the truth. Third, promote beneficence and non-maleficence. These are the two sides of the same ethical coin. Beneficence means doing a good, designing studies that help participants or contribute meaningfully to science. Non-maleficence means avoiding unnecessary harm. These principles require careful planning, risk assessment, and safeguard. The goal to maximize the benefits and minimize the harm, always. Furthermore, enhance scientific integrity. Research must be built on trust, honesty, and reproducibility. If we manipulate data, hide results, or cut corners, the science becomes unreliable. Worse decisions made from the bad data can harm patients and misguide future studies. Ethical research ensures our work is credible, valid, and respected. Additionally, promote justice and fairness. Justice means fairness in who participates and who benefit from the research. Are we including diverse population? Are we exploiting brown ones? Are certain groups bearing more risk while the others enjoy the reward? Ethical research is inclusive, equitable, and is just it ensures no group is overused or overlooked. Lastly, maintain the trust in science. Science, sorry. Would you volunteer for research if you thought a system was corrupt or risky? No, of course. Research does not happen in a vacuum. It depends on people wish to participate. If people fear exploitation or if fact scandals are not acknowledged or addressed, public trust erodes. Ethics rebuild and preserve that trust. When the public believes in our process, they are more likely to support, find, and participate in the research. So let's go back in time in the 1947, when the World War II came to an end. The world expected to mourn the casualties of battle, but what they not expect was to uncover something even more chilling behind the Nazi concentration camps, a betrayal of both humanity and science. Nazi physicians, men in white coats, had turned medicine into a weapon. In the name of research, they conducted a horrific experiment on prisoners, not just without consent, but without regard of life or dignity. Individuals were injected with deadly pathogens, not to treat a disease, but to observe the slow course of suffering. Others were plunged into freezing water to mimic the pilot crashes in the icy seas. Many never woke up. Surgeries were performed without anesthesia, nerve exposed, and pain ignored. Some were subjected to chemical burns, poison gas trials, and forced sterilization, all in the name of scientific progress. These were not isolated incidents, they were systematic, calculated, and above all, unethical. The world had witnessed the darkest misuse of medical science, and it demanded a response. The response became Nuremberg Code, which became the first international document to define ethical conduct in human research. So it included 10 elements. First, Voluntary consent is absolutely essential. Participants must fully understand the risk to agree to join freely without the force or deception. Second, the expert must be useful. It must be to improve the society, not just done for curiosity or cruelty. Third, start with animals. Human trials should be passed on a real lab on animal research to ensure the safety of humans being. Fourth, avoid unnecessary suffering. Pain, disability, or death should never be risked without scientific reason. 5. No experiment if death is likely, unless the doctors are also willing to take the same risk themselves, with something rare, as you know. 6. The risk should not outweigh the benefit. There must be a reasonable balance between the risk and what we hope to learn. 7. Proper preparation and facilities. Everything should be designed to protect the participant from harm. 8. Qualified research only. Only scientifically trained and ethical professionals should conduct the research. Not everyone can do. 9. Participants can withdraw at any time. If you are uncomfortable or change in their mind, they can stop, no questions asked. 10. And the last rule is the researcher must be ready to stop. If your study became dangerous it must be ended immediately. So just to make sure the things are not quite boring, this is a scenario questions. Can someone read it for us? It's quite easy, so don't worry about that. You can just open the mic. 1 minute. Okay, now you can unmute yourself. Can someone of you read it? Okay, the other already joined, but someone of you please read it for us. I think someone was trying to speak. If you are, we can't hear you.
Okay, I can read it.
Okay, please go.
Okay. A group of doctors is testing a new medicine on a patient in a small village. They do not explain the risk of the medicine to the people, and some people don't even know they are part of the research study. Which of the following numbering code rules are being broken? Research must avoid causing pain or harm. People must give voluntary informed consent before joining the study. Research must be from the same country as the participant. The study must be done only in hospitals.
Okay, and the answer?
I would go with B. People must give a voluntary
Yeah.
informed consent before joining the study.
Okay, thank you, Muhammad.
Okay.
Okay, let's move on. Let me give you another story. It's began in 1932. In Tuskegee, Alabama, a group of 600 African American men, most poor, most with little or no education, were told they were part of a special government health program to treat bad blood. They were promised free meals, free health care, and even funeral costs. But what they were not told was this: 399 of them had syphilis, and the doctors had no intention of treating it. Even after the penicillin was discovered in the 1940s, the non-cure for syphilis, they were left untreated, just so researchers could watch what happened when the disease ran its full course. These men were not just patients, they were subject in a secret experiment one that lasted 14 years. Can you imagine that? This study is a painful reminder of what can happen when medical research loses its ethics. So, if this could happen in a government-funded study for 14 years, can we ever afford to let our guard down when it comes to ethics to research? Unfortunately, these studies were not the only one with similar results. Because the moment we stop demanding ethics, the history repeats itself. While we often hear about unethical studies in the West, ethical challenges in research are not exclusive to history or other parts of the world. Saudi Arabia and the surrounding region have had their own ethically scientific cases that serve as a reminder of how critical oversight and integrity are. Let me give you an example. King Saud University Medical City ghost authorship and student exploitation. Companies by the student allows that some facility add their names to publication without meaningful contribution or exclude the student after scientific work. So I think that's a very quite similar things that we actually see and hear, and some things that happen to us as a medical student. And let's to be honest, the role of medical students in research has changed. We are not just helping with data collection or handing out survey anymore. Now we write the proposal, we design the methods, we conduct analysis, we write manuscript, and sometimes we even submit it to the journal ourselves. In many projects today, the student is the researcher. That's exciting, I know, but it is also heavy. Being a student researcher means navigating an overwhelming list of responsibilities, deadlines that feel too close, professors who say just finish it quickly, or they do not even respond, pressure to publish, present, or add it to your CV, limited time, limited support, and high expectation. And then a voice creeps in and tells you, just fill the missing data. No one will know. There's only one column. But someone will know, and that someone is you. Because once you fake data, even a little, you are not just risking your project, you are risking your integrity, your future as a scientist, and worse, you are risking real lives if your results lead to misinformed clinical practice. So, advice from one student to another: be honest, even if it means saying we could not finish in time. We're always here to have each other back. If you feel pressured or compromise ethics, just speak up. And most importantly, ask questions. Before collecting data, clarify what's allowed, how you approach your task. And remember, the value of your research is not how fast you finish, It is how you honestly do it. And all of you are not just a student anymore. You are a researcher now, and your choices, big or small, shape the trust of people have in science. So protect that trust, protect your name, protect your patient. Okay, so ethics has a rule, but not boring one. Imagine that you are a superhero researcher with 5 powers. You can summarize it in A, B, C, D, E, and yes, it is not the Prime Minister vaguely. The first A for autonomy, you let people choose their own path. So autonomy is the idea that every person has inherent worth and right to make decisions about their own body and life. As Justice Cardozo said in the 1914, every human being of adult years and sound mind has the right to determine what shall be done with his own body. In practice, this means patients deserve clear information, honest communication, and the space to say yes or no without pressure. Be beneficent. You use your powers for good. Researchers have an obligation to maximize the possible benefit and minimize the potential harm to participants. C. Confidentiality. The researcher must protect the privacy of a participant and handle personal data with a strict confidentiality. This includes secured data storage and limiting access to authorized personnel only. So D. Do no harm, non-maleficence. Researchers must avoid causing harm to participants. This idea aligns with the various ethical principles, including avoiding killing or causing pain or suffering. Lastly, E. Equity or justice. You make sure no one gets left behind. The benefit and burden of research should be distributed fairly among all the groups in society. This principle addresses the issue of equity in participant selection and access to research benefits. So together all these powers make sure the science is helpful, not harmful. Let me give you another scenario question. It's a very similar to the previous one. So a clinical trial is being conducted to test a new cancer drug. Participants are told about the purpose of the study, but some details about serious side effects are left out to avoid scaring them. So the study was approved by the ethics community, and the results are expected to benefit future cancer patients. Which principle of medical research is most clearly violated in this case? You can write answer in the chat. Yes, B, B. That's right. It is B. As you notice, even my questions are clear and direct. Okay, so let's move on. Let's now talk about ethical challenges in medical research. First, scientific misconduct and fraud. Scientific misconduct, including data fabrication, falsification, and plagiarism, the non-one, undermine the credibility of the research findings and can have direct consequences for the patient's care. Fabrication is making up data or results and recording or reporting them. Falsification means manipulating research material, equipment, or process, changing data or results such that the research is no longer correct. Plagiarism, I think all of you know it, is the appropriation of another person's idea, process, result, or words without giving appropriate credit. So second, Data privacy and confidentiality. In a digital age, ChatGPT, a vast amount of personal data are collected and stored. Ensure that the privacy and the confidentiality of this sensitive information is permanent. Therefore, researcher must protect participant data. Third, conflict of interest arise when a personal or financial consideration have the potential to compromise professional judgment and objectively in research. Data collection and manipulating results, and unfortunately that's something we as a medical student face it a lot. Collecting data is a foundational part of medical research, but how it is collected, recorded, and reported matters deeply. Ethical problems arise when a researcher cherry-pick the result to support a thesis, suppress negative findings, misclassify or misreport data, fabricate or make up data that was never collected. These actions distort the truth and can mislead clinicals and harm patients and erode public trust in science. So, enter the IRB, basically the guardian of ethics. They are like a research Avengers, checking every study for risk, fairness, and honesty. Their job: protect the public even from the well-meaning researchers who may miss a red flag. So, what is the definition of the IRB? IRB is a stand for Institutional Review Board. It is an organization that reviews and approves research involving human participants to ensure that it's ethical and with the and in accordance with regulation. Okay, so lastly, let's talk about the main components of the IRB. The main component of the IRB is actually different from institution to institution and from organization to organization, but the most commonly known. I will talk about it. So, research team. Who is conducting the study and what are their roles? We are the principal investigators, the supervisor, the consultant, whatever that you like to call it. Most of the time, they are a consultant or assistant consultant, and most of the institutions they require a consultant who uh, consult or they work in the same facility, so they can have an access to the patient data. The sub-investigators or the co-authors are like us, medical students, residents, whoever, other than the BI. Second, the introduction and the background, and also the study title. A clear and descriptive title to our study. The background just justify the research questions, statement of the problem, and the knowledge gap. The objective and the aim, what is the study is trying to find out. Are the objectives clear, specific, and achievable? Do they align with the methodology? So we have a primary and secondary objective as well. The second part is methodology. So it will contain the study design, like the cross-section, entity, cohort, case reports, or whatever. Detailed procedure of what the participant will undergo, the inclusion and exclusion criteria, the sampling technique and the sample size justification, the data collection tools, whether it was survey, interview, or even like taking data from the system of the hospital itself, and how the data will be analyzed. Ethical consideration, how and when will the consent or informed consent will be obtained, how will the data will be stored securely and with privacy, and who has access to the data. Bibliographic reference is just the reference that you use in the introduction. And for the timeline, there is some institution required timeline that when you are going to finish the study, and even timeline for each section of your study. So how we can obtain an IRB approval? There's a lot of many ways, a lot of institutions and organizations that can obtain IRB, but here are the things that I know, the things I have been worked with, not all of them to be honest, but some of them. So the first one, since I am from الحرس, the King Abdullah International Medical Research Center KeyMark اللي هو الRB حق under the National Guard Health Affairs اللي هو مستشفى الحرس بشكل عام. King Abdulaziz University, the Unit of Biomedical Ethics. As I know, I didn't actually deal any of them or deal with any of their students yet, but I asked, and only things that you can do is send them an email through the BI from their institution, and you're just gonna like send them the protocol, and you will ask them for the data, and that's it. And the same thing goes for Omar University. Is biomedical ethics community. Also, they require a consultant or someone from their institution to obtain the RP. Let me talk to you more about KeyMark since I am the one who's using it a lot. So هنا الموقع حق KeyMark. قبل سنة أو سنتين تقريبا كان عن طريق إيميل زي باقي الجامعات، لكن هذه السنة أو أتوقع السنة الماضية فتحوا موقع إلكتروني أي أحد يقدر يدخل عن طريق الويب سايت جوجل عن طريق أي مكان. أي أحد يقدر يسوي حساب فيه له. أنا أحسن أوريكم كيف بالضبط في النت. النت Okay, so the only thing that you're gonna do to write a submission to Mark in Google, and here is the website. Okay. تمام. أول خيار عندكم ده MNGHA، هم الكونسلتنت أو الأسيستنت كونسلتنت اللي يشتغلوا في المستشفى. ادخلوا من هنا عن طريق حسابهم حق الإيميل حق المستشفى الخاص بي. كساو HS للستودنت حق نحن بالضبط من الحرس مستشفى السعود، بحسابات نقدر ندخل من هنا. You as an external، الأشخاص اللي خارجين الحرس خارجين الجامعة يقدروا يفتحوا لهم حساب من هنا، يحطوا external، يحطوا أي إيميل لهم ويدخلوا يحطوا باسورد، أي باسورد اللي حابينه، جالس تدخلوا عن طريق هذا. خليني أوريكم كيف بالضبط حيكون الشكل. أوكي. So هذا هو الشكل حقه. طبعا هو شوفوا على حسب انتوا as a medical student تقدروا you request for BRO، لكن هذا الشيء يجي فقط إذا ما كنتوا تحتاجوا داتا. لو كنتوا تحتاجوا مثلا cross section زي كذا survey يروح لعامة الشعب وزي كذا I think it's okay. but إذا كنتوا تحتاجوا study that زي cohort زي كذا فيها retrospective تحتاجوا data from the Whisker system, you need a consultant or assistant consultant يكون عندهم حساب تفتحوا له. في كثير إحنا عندنا في المستشفى ما عندهم حسابات، but بالنسبة لي اشتغلت مع واحد consultant ما كان عنده حساب، راح أعطاني الإيميل حق والباسورد، قال لي سوي بنفسك الحساب، واضح إنه ما عنده وقت. ف the thing they're gonna do زي ما قلت لك تدخلوا بالإيميل والباسورد حقه and you just request here for BI rule. It's gonna just take 2 to 3 times حرفيا. It's not gonna take a long time. أول كان زمان ياخد مرة وقت طويل، حتى ال RP approval مرة ياخد وقت طويل، بس من يوم ما فتحوا هذا ال e-submission عن طريق الويب سايت الحمد لله ما عاد صار يطولوا. طيب كيف تفتح حساب ليكم؟ زي ما قلت لك تدخل الإيميل، تحط باسورد، بعد إيش راح تسووا؟ تروح عند CV document وترفعوا بس CV حقتكم، أي CV حرفيا، حتى ما مو لازم أي حاجة حرفيا، أي هذه من أيام سنة رابعة ما غيرتها. ف يس and that's it. عطوا حقكم الحساب حيدفع، ما يحتاج تستنوا أي أحد حتى. بعدين لو كنتوا انتوا ال RP حيطلع لكم هنا زي في لستة، حيطلع لك إنه protocol list زي كده. أعتقد في دقيقة في manual. يا هنا بيشرح لكم كل حاجة، إيش لازم تسووا. زي ما قلت لكم تدخلوا بس CV على طول حيتفاعل حسابكم. If you want to request for BI rule you can. لما تبدأوا إذا request for the BI rule حيطلع لكم هنا create protocol and you're just gonna create it and that's it حرفيا. ال protocol information نفس تقريبا اللي قلتها لكم، هذه هنا information حقت ال BI. بعدين بعد you submit your protocol هتبدأ تضيفوا ال co-investigators، بعدين تضيفوا المعلومات حقت ال protocol حقكم and that's it حرفيا. يعني شيء مرة بسيط، شيء مرة سريع، ما في له أي قروشة زي زمان. So let's go back to the lecture. طيب هنا مثال على ال RP approval. هذه الرسالة اللي اشتغلت بعضها عليها، هذا اللي هو ال RP approval حق كيمارك. زي كده حيطلع لكم زي ستامب. هذا ال RP كمان حيسوي لكم ستامب على نفس البروتوكول اللي أرسلتوه لهم. هذا حق أم القرى برضو اشتغلت عليه، وكان برضو أم القرى برضو صراحة ما ياخذ وقت، بس باقي الجامعات ما قد جربتها صراحة. طيب so in conclusion what do we learn? Ethics is the soul of research. It is not a boring checklist. It is what keeps science human. And whether you are a future doctor, researcher, or just a curious mind, if you remember anything, let's be this. Get consent. Respect people. Never cut ethical consent accordance with
أرسلت السم الشريري، حسيت نفسي حجوع.
معلش
تجلسي بعدين تتكلمي.
ما في حد سأل سؤال ما فهمت. Okay, let's continue. So, want to be a great researcher, start with being a great human first. And now I would love to open the floor for any questions, reflection, or thoughts. عندكم أي سؤال من ناحية ال RP من ناحية السيشن؟ Go ahead.
ال IRB تبع الحرس
نعم.
عادة كم ياخذوا وقت يعني عشان يدوك الفيرست ريسبونس، وإذا كان في عندهم فيدباك تباك تعدي يعني يبوك تعدله، فكيف حيكون طريقته في الموقع؟
شوف زمان كان حابين ياخدوا مرة وقت طويل تقريبا 4 شهور أو أكثر، بس دحين آخر بحث طلبته منهم تقريبا أخذ شهر أو شهر وشوية، مرة يعني وقت قليل حرفيا. بالنسبة للموديفيكيشن هم بنفس الموقع يرسلوا لكم يرسلوا على ال RB the BI message، يقولوا إنه في الموقع في بعض التعديلات فينضاف لهم list جديدة يصير request for modification، فيفتح لهم هذه الليستة حيقدروا يعدلوا عليها. طبعا في التايم لاين يبان عندكم مين هم أصلا المسؤولين من كي مارك المسؤولين عن بحثكم القبول أو لا، فتقدروا تتواصلوا معهم مباشرة، يحطوا لكم إيميلهم على طول. سؤال ثاني؟
دحين الرفع يكون بس عن طريق البي اي، ولا اقدر ارفع انا من عندي الريكوست؟
زي ما قلت لكم هذا حسب. انت لو تبغى داتا من بيت كير سيستم اللي موجود في الهوسبيتال لازم كونسلتنت او اسيستنت كونسلتنت اتليست، ما يعطوا الداتا لاي ميديكال ستودنت. يعني بعض من ابحاثي البي اي كان مره مشغول وقال لي بنفسك روحي اطلب الداتا، رحت طلبتها بنفسي من كي مارك، فارسلوا لي you can request the data but they will not give me the data for me directly, you're gonna give it to the BI. so سواء انت ولا لا ما ينفع، انه اصلا حتى لو outside الحرس حتى يكون عندك access للبسكر سيستم تحتاج يا حساب الدكتور او حساب واحد من كي مارك. بس اللي outside الحرس يقدروا يشتغلوا في الحرس عندنا، مو مشكلة ابدا. واعتقد نفس الشيء باقي الجامعات، اي حد من برا الجامعة المختلفة الجامعات برضه يقدر يشتغل في نفس الشيء. تمام، سؤال
ايوه،
ثاني؟ نعم.
في لجنة حتكون لجنة في كل كلية، لكن
ايه.
احنا احنا عندنا اللجنة تقفل مع بداية شهر ماي وتفتح في شهر 12، فالقاب حقهم 7 شهور، هذا يكون كبير، فعشان كذا احنا نشوف alternative way يعني.
ايه. you can do an إذا كان cross section اللي تبغاه أنت.
ايوه، في بعضها كروس سكشن في بعضها لا.
إذا كان شوف إذا cross section yes you can do it، حتى لأنه في النهاية ما راح تاخذ الداتا منهم أنت في النهاية. بس لو كانت cohort هم بس عندهم الأكسس للويسكر سيستم، إذا كنت تعتقد إنه عندهم أكسس لباقي المستشفيات لا.
لا بقى، هي اللي أعرفه كل مستشفى فيها ethical
أيوة
approval
أيوة
committee تقدر
كل مستشفى
تطلبها.
لا خاصة بيها، عندها RB خاصة بيها.
أيوة.
تمام. في سؤال تاني. and because I am a researcher leader first. Okay. يس كان في حد بيسأل سؤال؟ Okay, and just lastly, before I end the session, I just want to tell you if you have any suggestion, recommendation for the research courses that you like us to cover during the course يعني 2025 عندكم هاي فقط السنة اللي حنشتغل فيها نحن as a research leaders. فإذا كان عندكم أي course حابين نحن نغطيه ك research community, you can just contact me or any of the research leaders فبإذن الله نسوي لكم هو. لا تنسوا تحضروا نفسكم في الرابط التحضير إذا أرسلتوا لنا حتى تاخذوا الشهادات حقتكم حقت الكورس. Thank you very much for your time and attention. يعطيكم العافية يا رب. أتمنى إنكم استفدتوا من السيشن حرفيا. It is, I know it is something a bit boring for some of you, but it's something very, very important and quite vitally. في رابط فيدباك حيترسل في الجروب، أتمنى إنكم تشاركوا فيه. يعطيكم العافية يا رب. إذا كان عندكم أي سؤال أو أي حاجة سواء في هذا الكورس أو من ناحية الريسيرش in general, you can ask me or ask any of your research leaders. زي ما قلت لكم نحن في الكلاب حقنا الجولز حقتنا إنه نتعلم مع بعض، نستفيد من بعض عشان نطلع بشيء حلو خلال هذه السنة.